All right, friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kristen and this is Growing Zone 9B. So behind me, I have the grow tower. So I want to do a grow tower update and just kind of let everybody know my experience so far with the grow tower. As you can see, it is producing very well. It is super bright. You can see the lights are just glowing. But the produce that I have so far is just looking wonderful. At first we were having a little bit of issues with some of the produce, but mostly I have planted lettuce. As you can see here, look at that. It's so beautiful. It's really starting to come in and take shape. So I'm really excited. This is a cucumber over here. Now remember, with cucumbers, you're gonna have to hand pollinate. I also, up here at the top on the baby green section, I put in some bok choy. Not all of the spots took. I definitely have a couple of them that just decided to give up and not work out, and that's kind of probably to be expected on my first round for sure, just because I'm still trying to figure out what we're doing. As you can see, we are in June, and obviously I'm able to have lettuce here in Florida. Now there's a couple of things with this grow tower. As you can see, my fiance has zip tied a piece of the grow tower. The reason is because we are trying to make this as level as possible, and unfortunately I don't know if it's how this thing is built, but when we put the baby green section on, which is an additional cost, it is leaning towards our door basically, and so therefore the plants were not getting watered on this side, and so we are trying to like pull it closer to like make it not lean. So we're in a little bit of a better light, and of course Pumpkin, you know, she's always got to be in the business. Settle down. She just came in from outside, so she's super hyped up. So one of the things that I have discovered so far with my grow tower, that I've heard some people say that it's not required and that you don't need it, that their stuff is done just fine. Here in Florida, we are on a well system. We also have like a conditioner on our water. And so that was one of the big mistakes that I made from the very beginning, was that I did not measure the water properly. And so, okay baby, sit down. And so I had to, which I had purchased, I just didn't really know how to use it. So you need to familiarize yourself. I bought it from the Vivo Sun. This is gonna be your TDS and EC on this side, which is going to be your nutrients, which you need to know what your plants need in this grow tower. So you're also going to need to know the pH for your plants. So for example, like a cucumber, I think does well in like a 5.5 pH, and lettuce is like, or like a 6, and I think a lettuce is anywhere between like 6 and 6.5. And some people will say like, oh well, that doesn't make a big difference. Friends, it does, because for me personally, I want my plants to be as healthy as possible and to be getting the nutrients that they need. So I am almost every other day, I am measuring the pH for sure, and I'm also measuring to see if they're getting the right amount of nutrients. And so the way I kind of did it was, we have an A machine. So anybody that knows what I'm trying to say without saying it, because then y'all's might go off. And so I asked her and said, if I'm growing lettuce in the garden tower, what should my pH level be? And so she told me, and so that's how I checked it, was based off of what she had said. Now I'm sure that you can probably and we probably should be, as we move forward, writing this down in case something goes down on the internet and we're not able to like ask her questions. That would be, you know, an issue. So but like I said, this is our first go round with it. The other thing that I discovered too was that we ended up putting some peroxide in our tank, and so that is going to change the levels of your nutrients and what your plants are getting. And so that was one of the other things. So you don't want to do a lot of peroxide, but you need to make sure that you are following that, because it'll also help to keep the green fungusy mold from getting on the rock wool. Now I know some people are doing coconut like little cubes or whatever, and so in the future I might look for that, but right now we bought the rock wool because it was recommended when we got the tank, and so we just kind of moved forward with the rock wool. The whole kind of part of the reason why I got this was, number one, I wanted to make sure that I could have lettuce year round and other foods that would be too hot to grow during this time of year. As y'all know, in my garden the lettuce has already gone to bolt, and so we have a very short window here in Central Florida that would allow for us to grow lettuce. And so because that is a big majority of what I consume during my week, and I want to cut my grocery bill in half, you know, at least, or take off a big chunk of my grocery bill, I buy 3 or 4 containers of lettuce every single week when I'm at the store, and I'm getting the plastic. So, you know, this will reduce that for us, and I think that that's really important. All right, the other thing that you kind of have to watch too, which obviously, like I said, I'm still learning this all, is that you need to have a time frame in which you're going to be doing your new starts. So as you can see, the stage we're at just this past weekend was the first that I started and said, hey, you know what, these plants are starting to kind of come in. I need to go ahead and get my other plants seedlings started and kind of get them ready so that I can, by the time that this set of lettuce is done, I can get them transferred into the grow tower and ready for the next set. So so that's taking some learning as well. I actually, so far, like now that I'm seeing the end results and the time frame and what this lettuce looks like and all that, I love it. I love the grow tower. Number one, I don't have to weed. So like in the garden, you know, you're always weeding and pulling stuff out of the garden. So I love it for that. Number two, it's in a controlled climate. And so I'm not getting like bugs. I'm not getting the aphids. I'm not getting the worms that are getting on my squash right now. I'm not getting boring bugs that are like boring into any vining plants like my cucumbers. So I love that aspect of it. It's just running off of water. Now our water measures at like a 7.4 just coming from well water. That is something that you need to check before you add any nutrients or any solutions to your grow tower. You need, when you fill that tank up, you need to check to see what your pH is reading. You need to have a baseline, what your pH is reading and what nutrients, what your nutrients are reading, so that way you know how much more you need to add or not add into that tank. Now that is a 20-gallon tank, and so you have to do the calculations for it. So that gets a little tricky if, you know, you're not used to that. I think the other really nice thing about it is you can kind of plant a lot of things that I can't usually seem to grow very well here, like kohlrabi. I've always wanted kohlrabi, but every time I go to grow it, it just never works out for me. I don't know if it just gets too hot, too cold. So it just doesn't work out in my regular garden. So this next go round have planted some kohlrabi because I am excited to try it. I've never even had kohlrabi, but it's something that I'm interested in. So that's a plant that can grow in the grow tower. Super excited about. I am still obviously going to be doing my garden beds, so that's what I'm saying. I think that maybe for somebody like in an apartment, to get the kitchen one would probably be best, because the kitchen one is not going to take up as much space. Now it is going to have these bright lights. Those lights run for 16 hours a day. There is no controlling the lights. You either put for indoor or outdoor. It's literally that simple. So I obviously put for indoor because it is indoor, so it's running The tank itself, the water tank, will run for like, I think it's 5 minutes every hour. So it's running constantly. But as far as the lights, those lights will run for 16 hours out of your day. So you definitely want to put it in a room, not the room that we currently have it in, because that's like our TV, like family room. And so unfortunately, it's just very bright. That thing runs from 6 a.m. until midnight. And so it is super bright. So at some point we are going to be moving it to a different room that we can kind of shut the door and not really have the light blasting out on us. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to share this journey with you all. I do encourage somebody who maybe might be living in, you know, like an apartment and feels like they'd like to start growing and they can't grow. Now remember, you're not going to be able to grow things that are root based. So you're not going to be able to have, like, carrots are not going to grow in this, radishes, you know, anything, beets. I mean, you can get beets to grow, but I've seen that their bulbs are like really small and you're basically just eating from the tops, which to me, like, if I'm gonna have a beet, like, I just want a nice big fat red beet, and you know, I'm gonna grow it out in the garden. So, but like I said, it does give you things like, we're gonna try the cucumbers. I am gonna have to hand pollinate those. But yeah, I'm really excited so far because the lettuce, as you all saw, looks absolutely beautiful. So just wanted to keep you all posted on how the garden tower is doing. We are really excited so far, and obviously we are just blessed by God to be able to have this in our life and our garden. It just brings happiness and joy, and you know what? We just have to thank the good Lord for all the blessings that we have, especially in this day and age. I'm telling you, there are so many people out there that are struggling and are just really having a hard time in life. So be praying for those people. Love on those people. Be kind to everyone. Love one another. Be kind. I always try to tell you all that. Make sure you're taking care of your babies, and make sure that they're eating well and doing good. And you know what? I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for joining me and spending time with me today as we go on the tower garden journey. All right, friends, so here is your bonus, not bonus. I'm pretty sure that our pomegranate is actually ready. I want to go ahead and get it before any other animals get to it. All right, here it is, friends. Now what they say is that you want your pomegranate to be kind of flat. If you're looking at it, you can see this side's kind of flat and this side is actually kind of flat. When it's super round, it's not ready. So I'm actually hoping that this one is ready. It feels kind of a little bit squishy, but here you go. This is our first pomegranate off the plant. We definitely have a couple of more on the plant, as you can see here. A lot of the flowers, I had over 30 flowers and they blew off the plant, but I still have about 5 or 6 on here. So I am excited to be able to be eating from this tree. A lot of people here in Florida say don't grow a pomegranate, and that's probably why, because if you put it in an open space, what's going to end up happening is that, you know, you're going to have the wind that comes up and it's going to get like blown off. The little pods are going to get blown off and you're not going to be able to probably enjoy it as much as you want. But you know what, every little bit helps, and so I am super excited to be getting our first pomegranate. What an absolute blessing. All right, friends, thank you for staying for this extra little bit, and I will see you guys in my next video.